Alrighty, so we're back, and I wanted to answer the question, should you skip the new Ragnarok Festival? Because, obviously, this is not going to be, the greatest banner for everyone. There are a bunch of characters in this thing, and a lot of them you might not actually have, especially if you're free-to-play. I know a lot of the free-to-play players had to skip a lot of these Ragnarok banners and stuff like that, so this could be a decent opportunity for you to grab some of them, but there's a lot of different factors that go into this whole situation. So, before we hop into it, if you're new to the channel or anything, feel free to subscribe. We're going to try to break this down a little bit and kind of give some points and everything. If you have any sort of input that you want to sort of say or anything, feel free to comment down below. I'm sure, I'll probably comment back and everything. I do read every comment. So either way, we have obviously the new character. She is very, very interesting. She is obviously a dark character and she is unknown. She also is following the trend of newer modern sort of Ragnarok characters or Ragnarok holy relics, in which she sort of works with specific allies, which are unknowns and Ragnarok. So it's not only Ragnarok characters that can be ran with her, but you can use the entire unknown race, which is quite a lot of characters. If we look through the unknown, you have some really good options in here. There's, every Gother, every Merlin, there's a lot of collab characters in here because collabs contribute a lot to the unknown race and everything. So obviously there's even more human sort of unknown, or human Ragnarok characters that you can mess with, maybe even Scotty. There's a pretty good roster of stuff that you can use with her, so I think that there's going to be a decent amount of variety. A lot of people have been saying that if you don't have tier, it's not worth having her. I'm not 100% sure, obviously, how true that is, because the character is not out on global yet, and I don't play JP. So I'll definitely be trying to test that a little bit and see if we can find some team comps that might be beneficial to use her with without tier. So if you want to stick around for that, feel free. But other than that, I do think that the new character is going to be very good at countering the demon team. If you don't know what she does, basically she has these new source of pain stacks or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to get translated to on global, but they're basically, people just call them pain stacks. But if you attack with the new character, Hell, or the enemy attacks into your characters and they hit either unknowns or Ragnarok characters, so her specific allies, they will basically apply pain stacks to themselves in that situation, and if they use AoEs, it applies one for every character they hit. So if they use an AoE, that's 3 stacks on them, at minimum. So, very, very interesting passive. If you don't know, basically, at the end of their turn, when it ticks back over to your turn, for each pain stack on them, they're going to lose 10% of their current HP, I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's max HP, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 10% of remaining HP at the end of the turn. And on top of that, you will do increased damage, so you get 5% additional damage to them, so that is pretty cool. But the fact that you're, if they're full HP and they have 5 stacks, the end of their turn, they're now at 50% HP, which is really, really strong to obviously counter, the Demon King, because he has a 50% damage cap on himself, and so if he's already at 50%, if you do a strong enough attack, you're going to basically one-shot him, which is great, and because, it's a debuff and a passive sort of thing that's doing the damage, he's not going to be able to Tarmiel link any of that HP back. So pretty hard counter to him, I guess, in some ways. Obviously, they're either going to feel forced to attack into you, so that way you don't kill them, or they just stall and then they don't get the stacks on them, but you basically get an extra turn to just do whatever you want. So there can be a little bit of interesting strategy involved. The character, I think, is just going to change the flow of battle quite a bit because of the way that she works. So she does seem pretty strong. A couple of things to note is the banner, or well, they're going to be giving out a bunch of diamonds for one. So if you're not planning on summoning or you don't have as many gems right now, do know I think they're giving out a total of 300 diamonds. I could be wrong on that. I think this is like a 250 login bonus, and then I know that you get 30 from the login or the special missions here, as well as 1 free multis worth of tickets. So you can just save these if you're not planning on summoning on the banner. Completely understandable. Like I said earlier, if you were a free-to-play player who ended up skipping some of these banners, this could be a very good opportunity for you to grab some of these. Obviously, festivals and collabs and stuff like that are typically what free-to-play players sort of, skip banners to sort of summon on. Obviously, not everyone is skipping every single banner, of course, so if you don't have a whole lot of gems right now, might be worth it to save, because obviously, towards the end of the year, we get New Year's banners, and, I think even, I don't think we get like a Christmas festival, but the November festival going into the New Year's festival, those are the big two festivals for the year. Those are where we sort of reach like a whole new level of power creep a lot of the times. So, yeah, those are going to be really good units. I can only imagine it's going to be really, really cool stuff, considering we're getting to the very end of the actual 7 Deadly Sins storyline in the game. So, yeah, it might be worth saving if you don't have a whole lot right now. But if you have been saving and you don't have a lot of these Ragnarok characters, I would say that it is extremely low chance to get any of the characters that you're actually looking for. Obviously, there are a bunch of Ragnarok characters that are not as good, so you're probably looking for Tyrs, you're probably looking for Freyas, maybe even Freyr. I would love some Scotty copies because I've only ever pulled one. This is the first ever banner that is returning with Red Magelda. She's not been on any other banners since her initial release, and a lot of people do really like that character for the Ragnarok team on Nidhoggr, so that can be really nice. She can even speed up some of the older Demonic Beast teams if you throw her in there, because she works on all of them. There's some pretty good picks in here. The festival units are the only thing that really bother me. Obviously, there's a lot of really old festival units in here that are not very good anymore, or just like need, a holy relic or whatever. Maybe they'll be useful in the future. Obviously, Ultimate Escanor is like the only real high value target here because he's a light character. I was expecting more light and dark units because she is dark, and I was really hoping for Mael. I was definitely in the camp that was really hoping Mael would be on this thing, because I need one more copy to be able to do, gray debuffs on Nidhoggr, which would help tremendously. But unfortunate, he's not on here. Maybe he'll be on the next festival banner, I can only assume, because he came out in February, so he's not returned since, which is a bit bizarre. But, if you pull some, light Escanors, if you don't have him already 6/6, that would obviously be kind of beneficial, because obviously he has sort of that passive thing that sort of scales off of his ultimate, which is really annoying. Hell also has that, just so you know. I can't remember exactly which part of it is tied to that. Also, for each specific ally in battle, I think, no, it's part of the ultimate here. So, for 2 turns, it increases the damage dealt by 10%, increases the damage taken by all enemies by 10%. So, her ultimate basically is going to scale to where it's going to lower their stats, or lower their damage taken, or increase their damage taken by a certain percent, and it's going to increase your damage dealt by the same percent depending on what level your ultimate is. And then also, if you are participating in a battle and allies with unknown race or Ragnarok characteristics become incapacitated. So she has this really weird revive mechanic, kind of like Escanor's, but it is tied to if your allies die. So if you have a full team of unknown Ragnarok characters and they kill off Tyr, for example, first, she's going to gain a stack of this passive. You do get one at 1/6 all the way up to, I think, 3/6, and then at 4/6 and 5/6 you get 2 stacks at the maximum, and then at 6/6 you get 3 stacks. So if they kill off an ally, you gain a stack, and then once you have that stack, you will basically revive with 1 HP if they would have killed you. So it could maybe be clutch in a lot of scenarios, but from my understanding, a lot of the JP players have said that it's pretty redundant because people just attack her first anyway. So if they can obviously kill her and they don't have to worry about the revive, then you're not going to proc that or anything. But Tyr is a pretty big threat, and he does have a taunt on, so there's potential for him to die, and then you gain a stack, but you can always get 1 stack regardless at 1/6 anyway. So a lot of people are saying that you kind of want to go second, so that way they apply her pain debuffs to themselves on their first turn and everything, and just like going second is pretty beneficial with this kind of character. So I did pull up Amazing Summons here. Something to note is that each of these characters that are not featured are a 0.15% chance, whereas she is rated up to 0.25, so if you only need like 1 or 2 of these characters and you're not really sure on summoning, if you don't think you're going to get use out of this character by any means, then I would say it's probably worth skipping. I know, I really do. I understand that everybody's needing Freya right now because of Nidhoggr. People want Tyr because he's insane. So, I mean, you're going to have to make the judgment call on your own there. Obviously, like I said, if you're free to play, you probably are missing several of these characters, and it could be a good banner to sort of just gain a lot of GP, a lot of new characters, sort of work on the box a little bit, get some stuff you need. So yeah, the festivals, like I said, are probably the biggest letdown here. Some of you may be wondering if the character is good for Nidhoggr. I do have Marili's Nidhoggr run pulled up. She actually does apply her debuff stacks to the enemy if they attack you in phases 1 of floors 1 and 2, but phases 2 and 3 of all 3 floors are immune, and phase 1 of floor 3 is immune as well. So she becomes a lot less effective on those other floors. Obviously, it can be kind of nice to get through the first phase a little bit easier, but is it worth bringing her in and then her kind of not doing nearly as much for the rest of the battle in each phase or floor? Probably not. I think, you know, it is pretty impressive that Marili was able to beat it with the character on the team, considering she doesn't basically do anything in floor 3 except for just dealing a pretty decent amount of damage. It's not like crazy, because obviously, if you don't know, her single target card does more damage, or it gives you more attack related stats depending on how many stacks they have on. So it's she falls off quite a bit in the late game. I don't think that this is going to be the character that you're looking for to make your Ragnarok Nidhogg team bust through the roof and absolutely shatter Nidhoggr, but you know, it could be pretty helpful in other scenarios. She does work in every single game mode, so that is nice. I mean, you can use her in Nidhoggr like we were just looking at, but probably not worth it in the end. So just note that she's not necessarily going to be good for Nidhoggr. Who knows, maybe way later down the road, hopefully, they'll give her a relic at some point that could potentially help with it, but I don't really know how that's going to sort of go. But either way, that's pretty much all I have to go over. If you have Tyr, of course, then she's going to partner very well with him. If you have a lot of these other Ragnarok characters that you can partner with, obviously, you know, if you already have the team built or you already like unknowns and you have some of the stuff invested into, she's going to slot right in, I think. She's going to be really nice, and she's going to help counter that demon team. A lot of the meta players, I think, are just using, if they're not using the demon team, they're using teams to counter the demon team. So I don't really know if the demon team itself is going to fall out of the meta or anything like that. I highly doubt it. I'm sure a lot of people will still be using it. I do plan on trying out Demon King after the character comes out and hopefully looking for Hells, so that way we can try to see if we can counter her a little bit and see how effective Demon Team is still after she comes out, because I do want to know. I know a lot of people invested into, you know, the Demon King and the Demon Team in general. Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of a weird meta shift. There might be more human teams in the meta with the Roxy Relic coming out. There might be, you know, more Sins teams or whatever trying to counter maybe this one, or even the demon team. I don't really know. So we're just gonna have to kind of see how things unfold. I would say this is a good character. I would say at the end of the day, you could probably summon on this and get a lot of good units. Obviously, like I said, the chances are low. So I mean, you might not get exactly what you're looking for, but a lot of these characters can be very helpful in the game overall, so it might be worth it in the end, but you know, it depends. I've summoned for every single character. Me specifically, if I didn't want to use Hell and I already had every other unit in this banner, I would probably skip it. So if you do maybe already have Freya or, you know, some of this other stuff, you know, because I'm not getting any Nidhoggr use out of this and I'm not using her for like late game PvE content, she's basically just going to be a sort of PvP unit. So if you're not really that worried about it, if you've already invested in the demon team, you have some of these characters and you're not worried about, you know, going for dupes or, you know, pulling one copy of whatever, you could probably get away with skipping. So let me know your thoughts and opinions, of course. I would love to hear, you know, if you have more reasoning on, you know, certain issues with the banner or the character or whatever the case may be. Feel free to leave them down in the comments. But that is it for me. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was helpful or informative in some way. Yeah, I'm obviously looking forward to the character coming out on Global. So we will definitely be doing live summons and everything when the character drops. So subscribe, come hang out with us whenever the banner, you know, goes live, and we will check her out. So see you then.